Rejoice and be glad in it. This is a day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day, a day to be seized, yeah. A day I can feel my spirit set free. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and high up in the sky. This is a day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day all my dreams come true, and I can feel the Spirit working its way through. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and high up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it.
Good morning. Welcome to West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Reverend Clyde Goings, and I want to welcome you here on this beautiful, hot Sunday morning. I hope you're enjoying our summer, and it's getting warmer and warmer, and I'm really okay with that. So, just a quick story. If you guys were here earlier, we had we have the slide announcements and everything going, and hopefully Kendra was able to put that picture. The Bradfords they're having a whole zoo built out in their property, and they just added a beehive, and so we had a picture of Rod experimenting or putting together his beehive. I don't know if you guys. There it is. There it is. So
I am famous.
we're gonna have a farmer's market here before you know it. We're gonna be selling honey. We're gonna be selling fresh fruit. What else? Eggs. I mean, we're gonna be selling a lot of stuff. You don't have to go to a farmer's market. Just come here. Anyway, so it's beautiful to see what they're doing to their property out there. So, all right. So welcome to this beautiful Sunday, and we come together every Sunday to remember our truth that we're whole, perfect, and complete, just the way we are. So. A little bit later in the service today, we're going to be recognizing our volunteers, and our volunteers are so valuable to our community. We need every volunteer to make this service work, to make the community work, to make everything work, and so we really appreciate every volunteer that we have and all the work that you do for our community. So if you're new here for the first time, I want to welcome you and sit back and enjoy a wonderful, beautiful service. And so that's what we're all about. And so now let's say the vision statement together. We are a loving, joy-filled community, honoring the many paths to God as we learn and live the Science of Mind principles. And so it is. All right, so just sit back, relax, listen to the Bradfords' beautiful music, open up your hearts and minds for Reverend Karen's beautiful message. Thank you.
So take a deep breath. Breathing all that peacefulness in this beautiful center.
I will make a quiet place within my heart. I will wait upon the Lord. Wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a quiet place within my mind, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a quiet place within my life, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place.
And in this sacred, quiet space, there is but one essence, one love, one joy, one peace. And I choose to call this essence God. God is all there is. God is in all things and of all things. God is what has been, what is now, and what will be. And as I know that I am an individualization of this God, I also know that this is true for each of us here. Not only here, but those watching and the whole planet. We are each part of the whole. We are not the whole, but we are each part of the whole. And I like to call us God sparks. That light that shines through us as God works through us and lives and breathes through us and speaks through us. And I say a word of blessing for the Bradfords and their beautiful music and how they always, always bring us together with fun and joy. And I say a word of blessing for Reverend Karen as she expresses the divine message given to her through her as we take what we need, the lessons we need, and show forth and teach others. And I just know this service is absolutely perfect. Absolutely exactly the way it should be. And I am so grateful. And I just release this into the law knowing it is already done. And together we say, okay. So I'm taking these classes, Extension Study Course in Science of Mind. And we are almost done. But in our class last week, there was this this story or this thing that Ernest wrote, and the name of it is I Am That Which I Am. And I'm going to read part of it because I absolutely love it. I am that which I am. I am the eternal presence of your own self. Thus, there is no mediator between you and myself but your own thought. This I am has been revealed to you in innumerable ways through the inspired writings of the ages. Each inspiration has been a proclamation that I am is in the midst of you. I am the writer, the inspirer, the thing written about. I am the creator of history, the one who experiences it. I am its record and its interpretation. Everything which has ever transpired has but symbolized my divine presence at the center of all. I am within you is the only presence there is. I create innumerable centers of my consciousness personified as people. Yet I am is its thread of a unity running through it all, binding all back to myself. Because I'm a perfect oneness of all of me exists everywhere. Wherever you recognize me, there I am. And whether or not you recognize me, I'm still there. This divine visitor, which is your true self, and that which is I am, is both the one who stands at the door and knocks and the one who opens the door. Let us think about I am. And so it is.
This song is from the prayer of St. Francis, my favorite prayer of all time. And you guys practice it with me, so make sure you sing that little refrain with us.
Lord, make me a means of your peace.
Sing that with us.
Lord, make me a means of your peace. Where there's hatred grown, let me sow your love. Where there's injury, Lord, let forgiveness be my sword. Lord, make me a means of your peace. Lord, make me a means of your peace. Where there's doubt and fear, let me sow your faith. In this world's despair, let me hope in you to share. Lord, make me a means of your peace.
Let's sing that again.
Lord, make me a means of your peace. When there's sadness here, let me sow your joy. When the darkness nears, may your light dispel our fears. Lord, make me a means of your peace. Lord, make me a means of your peace.
Thank you, Kathy and Rod. All right, so if you could turn up the lights, Kendra. So now's the time that we are going to take just a couple minutes and honor two beautiful women that have been volunteers in our community for a long time. And so we're actually recognizing the 2020 and the 2021 Volunteer of the Year. And so if we could have Mary and Janice come up to the front, that would be fantastic. I called them and said, you have to be here on Sunday, please. We promise we won't make you work, but we need you. So both, yes. So Mary is the thrift store leader, and she's been doing a fantastic job there and keeping it going through this whole entire time. And we make a lot of money off the thrift store. And just a really quick story. I opened the door last Sunday to let this one lady in to get some stuff, and all of a sudden I had 3 or 4 ladies in there at one time. I'm like, my goodness. You know, I was just opening it for one person. But anyway, so I just wanted to recognize, so Mary has been volunteering in the thrift store. She's a fantastic volunteer. She always says yes. She makes sure that I announce it to let everybody know that the thrift store is open. So she keeps me in line. And then our beautiful Janice is, she's been our leader for our counters. And that's a really behind the scene kind of job there, where they count the money, but they not only count the money, but they also bless the money. And so our counters have a spiritual consciousness of abundance, and they hold the abundance of our community as they're counting that money. And it's a very sacred position, but it's behind the scenes, and she's been doing that and managing that for a while. And so she has stepped away from that. And so we wanted to recognize both of these beautiful ladies for all that they've done.
Add something.
Yes.
Should I have, do you want to do my mic? Oh, there I am. Good morning. Both of these women are really exemplary in, a heart of service. Both of these women have a tremendous heart of service, and I've known Janice. Janice and I actually attended the same spiritual center in Covina, California, not exactly at the same time though. And Mary has been a long time, long before Reverend Clyde and I were even here. Mary has done just about everything there could be in terms of volunteer service, as well as Janice. And in my tenure here at the center, these women have had jobs that are sort of invisible. And so to honor them today is a really great, it makes my heart smile in a really big way. Mary was even the president of the board at one time. So, and you've served on the board as well in other churches. So let's just really acknowledge them today. Thank you so much for your heart of service. Now you stay right here. Scoot over a little bit more so there's room for me on this side.
Yeah,
You go that way.
So one more thing we do, if you don't mind, if you can stand, we're going to sing them our grateful song. You just simply hold your hands up like this, because we are sending love, all of our love to them, and the song was up on the video, and the Bradfords will be singing it with us.
I'm trying to not block the lyrics.
You are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth.
You just listen.
And who you are and all you do is a blessing to the world. You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth. And who you are and all you do is a blessing to the world.
Oh, I think that means I'm on. That must mean I'm on. I really love that things are looking more normal again. That you'll notice we had 2 years that were, like what happened to those years? And yet, look at us as a spiritual community, right in place, doing what we do best, meeting on a Sunday morning and having a conversation about important things. So let me begin again. Good morning. Welcome to the West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Reverend Karen Rice, and I'm very happy to be joining you this morning. And I'm talking about something that's rather astounding, and that is the human body. I know, right? So there's always a monthly theme for Centers for Spiritual Living, wherein ministers all around the globe are carrying on in sort of a similar way. And we all have our own perspective and our own way of heating things up and doing speaking to these topics. And I chose for the title of my message this morning, I Sing the Body Electric. I sing the body electric.
I sing the body electric.
Ah! Oh, it was so lovely. She covers me now. She knows at those moments where I may think I can sing, and I'm mic'd, and for a wannabe like me. Thank you. That was well done. You know that song for a reason, I'm thinking. Good job, Miss Kathy. Thank you. Gosh, we love it when you guys, you're here most of the time, but we sure miss you when you're not here. Variety is nice, but I like my Bradfords. The song, I Sing the Body Electric, and there are other songs by that name. I didn't realize that. It actually comes from, anybody know who wrote the original poem? Yeah, I see some of you smiling. Walt Whitman, in his well-known book, Leaves of Grass, the poem written by Walt Whitman is in that particular book. And it's a lengthy poem, and it's a beautiful writing. And he's really speaking, and I love that musical way, he's singing the praises of how magnificent and how miraculous our human bodies really, really are. And so a really wise woman said to me this week when somebody asked me, what are you speaking about on Sunday? And I said, I'm talking about the body, and the title of my message is I Sing the Body Electric. And this person said to me, tell them to remind them that their body is a temple and you got to live in it, so you should take care of it. And I thought, that's really good advice. It's the only body you can live in. Though we do try and sort of advise everybody else as to how we think they should live their lives too. But the idea is that there is something lovely about thinking of our human body as a temple and really pausing to appreciate how absolutely incredible it is that it's a working, alive, singing thing all of its own. I love the reading. The reading made me think a lot about the words that I've written this week. So what the topic really is about, when it's all said and done, what I realized and came home with it and saw my theme, talking about having a vibrant life. You know, I believe it's the Creator's intention that we're given everything we need to heal ourselves. When dis-ease occurs in the body has this intelligence that knows how to correct things that are out of order. And sometimes it's up to us to sort of correct what we haven't been doing as well. But this is not that kind of a message. So please don't be tempted to hear this as you haven't been good enough to your body. That is not what this message is about. I actually have some surprising things I want to say around the topic. But how it is very true that how vibrantly we live depends on a couple things. One is how you define vibrancy. So for me, vibrant is loud and colorful and passionate. For others, there might not be as many adjectives in what you consider to be vibrant. And the other element of that is that the choices we make, that we are always choosing. And so if your life doesn't feel as vibrant as an expression as you'd like it to be, then get involved in that. Look and see why. I found this quote from Dr. Ernest Holmes in the Essential Ernest book. Dr. Ernest Holmes is the founder of this teaching, and he said this: the body is a concrete manifestation existing in time and space for the purpose of furnishing a vehicle through which life may express. That is why your song was really a good choice. You must have caught that somewhere. What a fabulous something to stop and think about, that this body is a vehicle through which life desires to express. So how absolutely amazing to imagine that I'm an instrument of peace. I can be an instrument. I like that you use that word. It's a means to peace, right? It's a means of peace. And so the same is true of love, and the same is true of joy and harmony and all those amazing qualities that in which we define what God is. I believe that the qualities of God are qualities of perfection, desiring to express on the planet, and that in that way we are the instrument through which spirit can be expressed into actual substance of something. So I Sing the Body Electric has just such beautiful feeling to it. When Walt Whitman recorded those words, he is talking about that miraculous nature of that incredible way we should stop and really appreciate the way the human body works. But he's telling us that he's reminding us in this lengthy poem that is not easy to read. It took me a while to get through it and to get the essence of what I wanted to say today. But he's saying it's that the physical body, don't forget, do not lose sight of this. The body, each of us is very distinct and individual. We're unique and different from each other. No two bodies are alike. We see that even in twin-born babies that are that come from the same egg, that there will be certain elements or aspects of them that are unique to them. So he's saying that what we are living in as this body is a distinct identity, and it is the very instrument through which we connect to everybody else as well as to all of life. So in the words of Whitman, to have a body is to be a part of beauty and order and the joy-filled elements of this universe, that we are that. And I heard that in the I Am reading. I almost wanted to grab a line from you, but it would be so distracting, and then I would forget why it was important to me. And I wanted to grab that song because when we bring it all together, like this body of life that we are in our togetherness, we see something more. Whitman wrote that poem it was published in 1856, and some people who stumble on the writings that are, more than 100 years old now, almost getting closer to 200 than it is 100. Sometimes modern readers of poems like this one get confused by Whitman's reference to electricity. Because think about it, 1856, right in the middle of the 1800s, he's talking about electricity, but the world was not using electricity as their main source of power yet. So it can sound conflicting until you come to understand that even the classical philosophers and the early spiritual healers had an understanding of electricity in the human body as a healing power. So there are mentions of electric eels and magnets, and even the use of static electricity in terms of for medicinal purposes. So when I read static electricity, I thought, well, I don't know, I don't think they had balloons then. 2,600 years ago, but that's what I see with if I'm getting an image of static electricity, I'm imagining that I'm blowing up a balloon and then I'm taking it to my grandchild's head and rubbing it in their hair and showing them a magic trick, because with enough static electricity that balloon's going to stick to the wall and it's going to be impressive to someone who's small and doesn't understand the mechanics, the physics in it, But I read that they literally used amber. I love amber jewelry. I save it for special occasions. I love it so much. But they literally took cloths or leaves or whatever they could use to rub on amber and substances similar to amber. And they began to experiment with what we now call static electricity. So it's a great old story, and by the 1700s, the idea of the body electric was connected to medicine, to healing the physical body. And by the way, just because this was interesting to me, I have to share it with you. It wasn't until 1882 that Thomas Edison had refined all of his work enough that they were using electricity to power New York City. In 1882, so this would be a time after this poem was published, but it was that date that they then chose to consider the start of the electrical age, which was all new to me. I love the learning those little things. people, that wasn't that long ago that there was no electricity used for power, and now we are looking at all kinds of alternate energy sources. So that whole, and today, by the way, the electric health is a term, is an actual term, and we study the biological nature of the electric human body. Now we have this knowledge about how there's this sort of electrical work inside our body that helps us stay alive, that causes our heart to beat. I was thinking it must be like the way your car needs a battery, you know, that there are similar processes, and we are just duplicating the processes that nature has already provided for us, and we've studied and we learn, and now we're wise and we use it. Symbolically, I sing the body electric is it's just lovely to think of the symbology in that statement. It is a reference to the intelligence, that intelligent energy, as I spoke about last Sunday. It's a reference to that intelligence that's already in us, you know, that we are infused with this wisdom and this brilliance of our body having the capacity to know how to function and how to heal. And so there is something very divine about us. We call it miraculous, but it isn't really a miracle as much as it is just what we've been given, and it's how we are created. So when, in that opening quote, when Dr. Holmes said, the body exists in time and space, it's important to think about that, time and space, because everything that's in physical form exists in time and space, but not everything. Not the deepest spiritual truths are free of time and space. But the body exists in time and space for the purpose of being a vehicle through which life may express. Then it tells me, it reminds me, it sort of behooves us to then participate, to invest some attention, some attentiveness toward how that works. How, we sang the song, we all know the prayer of St. Francis. You know, how is it that we allow Spirit to express through us? How do we become the instrument or the vessel? And so I'm not going to give you an answer to that. You probably, you know, we'd have to have a price at the door for me to give you that answer. Because the answer has to be discovered by you. Nobody can tell you what that answer is. You are in charge of your own experience of being. And so you have to be the one that taps into that. And yet, what we know is I guess the point I want to make this morning is that it's more than figuring out how to let Spirit, I always say, use me. I love that scripture. Concerning the work of my hands, use me. You know, guide me. I like to open to that greater wisdom. And by the way, if you look up that original scripture, I think it's in, is it Isaiah? Is anybody? I should know that. I quote that. I say it all the time. Okay, well, this is not that faith. In the church I used to belong to, somebody would have looked it up already and be reading it for us. But concerning the work of my hands, so Emma Curtis Hopkins, my favorite Christian mystic, used to say, you know, say these words, concerning the work of my hands, use me. However she interpreted it, I misinterpreted it, and she was trying to straighten us out so that we would see in Scripture, it is God speaking to us, saying to us, concerning the work of my hands. Show me, tell me, choose, pray, claim your good, open yourself to receive your good. So, you know, when I reread that after going all through my ministerial school using that as my mantra, Lord, concerning my hands, you know, then I figured out, oh, it's a much bigger picture. But let us remember this, that we are always the microcosm of the macrocosm. In other words, we are created in the image and likeness of God, and that is a really good way to to play in this particular idea. So how do we allow God to express through us? That's up to you. And you will have a very reciprocal relationship with your ability to how much you allow yourself to stand in that flow of universal harmony, or in that flow of universal peace, or whatever it may be. What I want to say strongly today is that there is a way you can misuse this information, and that would be to feel guilty if you're not feeling as vibrant as you'd like to be. That would be a really poor use of spiritual wisdom that's right here for us. So how do we not feel bad when we can't seem to heal what ails us? How do I not feel bad when I'm not happy because I'm going through a really sad time in my life? And I have pondered that a lot. I have had opportunity to think about that for quite a while. So in my personal journey, I am at my 6-month point. I did not want to be here. Boy, I remember thinking that I don't want it to be 6 months. I don't want that to happen. But I am now joyfully standing in some kind of confidence, because I think that traumatic events can sometimes stir up and awaken superpowers in us. And so I got some superpower now that I promise you I did not have 3 months ago. I don't even think I wanted it. I really would have been happy to just stay home forever and never leave the house again. But something happened in life's insistence on living and expressing through me. And in some way, my years of dedication to spiritual practice allowed my own sort of will and choice and intention. It allowed me to just be in a space, in time and space, in a physical way, in which the calendar would continue to move and days would pass. And at the point of 6 months after the loss of my husband, I can stand here and say to you, I have superpowers. But so do you. And so what I want to say is, I could look at that. I even stood here and spoke to you at about 3 months afterwards saying, I wish I could tell you it's been great. You know, there are so many people in my life that would say, while I'm in the process of saying goodbye to him, there were so many people, counselors even, that would say to me, this will be the most beautiful time of your life. And I was like, oh, they're crazy. There's nothing beautiful about this. And yet we do what's on our plate, and we walk through it day by day, and little by little we walk into a new world, and it sort of feels like a superpower. It's not really a superpower. It's not. It's just a new way of seeing, because everything, there are times for all of us, and I know so many of you know this personally and very intimately. There are times for all of us where something changes in our life, or it feels like something has been stripped away from us, whether it's finances or a loved one or a health. We don't have the vibrancy we used to have. And now our entire life has been reordered. So here's what I want to leave you with. No, I'm not done. I'm sorry. That was a balk. In baseball, they'd call that a balk. Oops, my bad. One of the things I want to share this morning is that, yes, when we live in this realm of time and space, there are times where things are reordered for us, but it doesn't mean you've made a mistake. If you are experiencing dis-ease, do not look at scolding yourself or seeking out the reason. What you do is the very opposite of that. What our teaching tells us is that we're out of harmony. Right? There's discord in our life, and the first thing we do is not look at why it went wrong. Don't forget that amazing scripture where the disciples went to Jesus and they said, Lord, why was the baby born blind? And Jesus said to them, you are asking the wrong question. The why doesn't matter. Let us put our attention on what is now possible. And that is our superpower. That is a gift of all spiritual teachings, I truly believe. And so do not believe because you have dis-ease. You have made a mistake somewhere. I needed to know that my grief was not the result of something I did poorly. There were times in that first 3 months where I would say, whoa, even when he was still around, I would say, I'm so afraid I'm going to fail. And now I can look at that and I can see that it's almost humorous, not quite, it's not funny at all, but that grieving is not the result of anything I did wrong. Grieving is we could say that it's one of the many gifts we've been given so that we can move through a process and we can handle we can get rid of those intense emotions. Grief measures out in direct proportion to how much we have loved. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could look at that and see the immensity of love that begins to fill the gap in what we had perceived as a loss? So I believe that we stand under this umbrella of New Thought. So there are a whole bunch of religious spiritual teachings, just like us. Unity is probably the biggest. And we tend to be positive thinkers, but I do want to throw this out here. The risk of positive thinking is that when we we have lost our equilibrium in life for any reason, is that it throws us more off balance, because we think it should be something that it is currently not. And I would say to you, I also believe that is exactly what happened to the entire world because of the pandemic. The effects of the pandemic threw off the entire, I wouldn't be surprised at all if the axis of the world is a slightly different degree now, because it threw everything into some kind of chaos, and then other things erupted from that discord. But the answer to the problem is always in not trying to fix what's out there, though there are certainly things that need to be fixed and I believe will be fixed, not all of it by me. I'm going to just keep showing up here every Sunday talking to you. But that there is a bigger harmony that is trying to present itself to all of us. Everything about life. None of us are not privy to this knowledge. Everything about life happens in cycles. There's birth, and there's livingness, and then there's decay, and that's the way it goes. There's morning, there's daylight, and then there's dusk, and that's the way it goes. And we could just expand that out into infinity in the ways in which life demonstrates to us that cycle. Do you know, the indigenous tribes understand that just at a gut level, they get it. They don't even need a language for it. In the Hindu faith, one of the most ancient faiths, they have 3 gods that represent birth, new beginnings, sustaining life, and then the decay and the destruction of life. And those 3 gods are very important to the Hindu faith. So everything that we see with our human eye is subject to those cycles. Now, let me bring it home again to this teaching, the Science of Mind textbook. In the very beginning of the textbook, Dr. Ernest Holmes an attempt is a good word. I think he did an excellent job. It's like trying to understand it is the attempt on our part when we're new to the teaching. But there are 3 chapters in the front of the book, chapters 3, 4, and 5. One is titled Spirit, the other is Soul, and the third is the body. The body, that's what we're talking about today, is the body. And he uses those as an illustration for us to understand the creative process of life. Now, I reread that chapter on the body very early in the week so I could get myself grounded in what was trying to bubble up for me to speak today. And Holmes talks about the body as being distinguished as different than everything we can see with a visible eye. No, everything that's invisible. So there's a distinction between the two. You can see the body, you can see everything in form, you can see what scientists might call matter. And then there's the spiritual realm, which we consider to be invisible. That's how we reference that. And Holmes says that the physical universe, this is a great statement, the physical universe, everything, all of it, is the body of God. Now, when I wrap my mind around that and you sing that song, let me be the vessel, let me be the means through which I am a part of the body of God. So allow that. I open myself and I allow myself to be used for the will of God. And what's the will of God? The will of God for us is always about goodness, because that's what God is. Think of the way we define and describe. What is God? God is love. So usually the first thing we think of, because it comes right out of the book of John. What is God? God is joy. God is harmony. God is perfect order. God is the expression of that perfection, the revealing of wholeness, and that's how we define healing. So these are Holmes' actual words. He says, our body evolves for the purpose of allowing consciousness to function on this plane. Now listen carefully. When the body is no longer a fit instrument, the soul deserts it and continues to function on another plane, right? At a different level of consciousness. So when people like Holmes and all the great deep thinkers and the poets like Whitman, when they would talk about eternal life, they were talking about the way we are eternal now. It is not a reward we earn for later. So the will of God for humanity, when I imagine what is the will of God for humanity, I envision it like I sing the body electric, as if those were scriptural. Those are they are poetic, and they come from song and poetry, so those are pure, the mystic that taps into that plane of thinking that is purely divine. Those are holy words. God is willing us in that way then to be vibrant, to divinely express, to allow love to divinely express through us, and then you can add everything else to that. The best definition of thy will be done from a New Thought perspective comes from that chapter on successful living in the text. And it says this: the true prayer has to be, thy will be done. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. We've all heard that prayer or prayed that prayer. But it is not as a submission or a limitation, a submission to anything bad happening. It's not like that. He says it is a knowledge that the will of God is always good. And so I do think that religiously, maybe even religiously, I guess I just had that thought, but that we have confused what that means, as if God's will for us could be something that we wouldn't want for ourselves. And what I really think is happening is that we are missing this key point, and maybe what Jesus meant when he said, you're asking the wrong question. What I really think is happening is that all of life has been created. All of life demonstrates to us how each thing fits with the next thing. So there's an interconnection that's absolutely perfect in the way that the universe has been structured. Notice the planet knows how to heal herself if we would just slow down in how many bad choices moving on. So I just think we get confused, and what I really think is that God created a harmonious, intelligent energy, and our job is to find our way into moving in sync with that divine harmony. See, the harmony's already there, even in the face of discord, even in the face of the deepest grief. That harmony, that love, that peace of mind, it's already there. But we have to make a choice to sort of ride through the space and the time and to trust the process. But what I really believe makes me most convinced about the way this all fits together is that not only do I believe the harmony is still somewhere in me, there is always a place of peace that is undisturbed by any outer events. And that there is a sacred space in you as well. It is a sacred space where all the wisdom abides all the time. Sometimes we tap into it, sometimes we don't. But here's how you know it's there. It's that when things aren't going well, what do you want more than anything else? For things to go well. Right? That's when we're most aware that we are out of harmony with the greater harmony of the universe. So in the same way that the Creator put this harmonious truth in the universe, in that same way, the Creator implanted within us for perpetuity an urge to express that harmony. So when you feel discontent, when you feel dis-ease, do not be hard on yourself. Seek to realign yourself to that harmony, to just open yourself to the will of God for your life, which has to be good, and then you will find your way back into being able to trust that process. I would add to this, and I think this is the most important thing I want to say this morning. I've been leading up to it. I think there's such a beautiful benefit to having had a consistent spiritual practice. The fact that I was a meditator before, that I knew how to rest and open myself, to pause, to open myself to the presence of peace even in the middle of chaos. And in some way, I believe that probably sustained me even when I couldn't feel it or sense it or definitely know it. I just think that that's a real experience. But we are sort of invited, life sort of invites us to be willing to expand. See, consciousness is always expansive. And because I know that, because I've read it in so many different sources, one of the ways we talk about it is that there's this upward bound spiral motion, the way consciousness is always upward bound and always getting bigger and bigger. So like a funnel, you could see it like a funnel, but it's upward bound, bigger and bigger. And it's cumulative. So the more we know, the more choices we have in our life. We have more tools and we have more wisdom. Hopefully we have more wisdom. So a question I would ask you to ponder this week is, are you willing to know more? What if it's possible the next crisis, what you would maybe term crisis or upheaval in your life, what if it's possible that's where your next superpower is waiting for you, right in the middle of that? And here's the real big question. I think this might be a tricky one. When was the last time you gave up an old belief? We have beliefs. We have a lot of beliefs. And now the brain science, all the studies tell us that you have the belief, and then the brain's job is to prove your belief to be true to you. But as we grow, we start to see things in a different perspective. I think at 6 months, the reason it feels so different from 3 months is because the superpower lifted me up to a slightly higher perspective where I can see the days, I can see the time and the space, and I can see that my life is still reconfiguring. It ain't over. It'll never be over. I don't think, the amount of love is, that's a real thing. But what if we really could come to a place of agreement? Oh my goodness, the planet would be in a different shape right now. That we could agree that our beliefs are important to us because they serve us, but we also can outgrow them. In fact, we do outgrow them. You don't think now like you did when you were a child. I don't think now like I did when I was 20. I don't think now like I did when I was 40 or even 60. Because now is not the same. So in that way we are rising, we are always getting a broader perspective, and I think these are just really good questions. I think we have old beliefs. It's inevitable. I know, I'm going to experience this disease because it's in my genetic it's what I've inherited genetically. What if that doesn't have to be true? Right? What if all those, my family will never heal from that time when that fight happened because that's impossible. And, if you only knew that one brother over there, what if that's just a bunch of poppycock? Yeah. These are all really big amens. We're talking about real life. So I really would challenge you to think about that this week. What was the last belief you were willing to give up? And maybe you will even think of a belief that you have now because you weren't willing and something happened because you weren't willing to look at it in a different way. So let's just keep growing. Let's remember that consciousness is cumulative. Let's remember that faith is a substance that can allow us to trust this process of life. And in that remember that our faith is always, it's very normal. Our faith is always expanding and contracting. Expanding and contracting, because that's what life does. Look at your lungs, right? You exhale, and then you're ready to inhale, and your lungs can expand again. You can watch if you lay on your back and you do good deep abdominal breathing, you can watch your tummy move up and down in that same movement. So expansion and contraction in our faith is often measured in how tough our hardships may seem. And I would just say, don't get stuck in a bitter place, because then you're stuck in the contraction. And it's only in that great big fresh breath. And also I was thinking that, when you let go of an old belief, it's like cleaning out your shoes or your closet, right? We get rid of stuff, and we know what happens when you clean out this space. Then spirit can fill it with something else. It's like a vacuum. There's a line in and there's a line in yes, thank you. But there's a line in the Course in Miracles, I bet you don't know that one, that says, "For what you leave as vacant, God will fill." Isn't that powerful? For what you leave as vacant, God will fill. So let's clean out some space. Let's know that God's plan, God's will for us is always about healing and expanding and growing and allowing Spirit itself to have a greater experience of love on this planet. When we open ourselves like that, when we open ourselves to experiences of love and harmony, when we look at the human body, I sing the body electric. When we look at the way the human body loves love, the body adores joy. Don't we adore joy in the human experience? And our bodies move freely when everything is in order. So let us know that we too can offer this great, vibrant song of life to ourselves, our beautiful self, and allow that expression of divinity to happen through us. So take a deep breath. I'm sure gonna. We're gonna pray. pause. We're going to just feel the peace that accompanies the piano here. And in that beautiful breath, we begin to sense the activity of life in our very own bodies. And what I know is that that movement of life within is our awareness, that we are becoming aware of the presence of God right here, right now. Not a distant God, but that fullness of spirit that is holy, that is glorious, that has created all of life. And we are grateful right now for these precious bodies that have sustained our own lives. I feel that love of God, and I know that it is that intense reminder that there is so much going on in this universe that I cannot see with the naked eye, but that I can sense, that I can recognize the symbols of a bird in flight that reminds me of freedom, of a creature walking on the earth that reminds me of all the aliveness in even a handful of dirt. The way in which the rain can fall in the desert, and the smell of the wet earth reminds us that seeds are awakening to be blossomed into their own fullness. How wonderful to know, to remember yet again that the will of God for all of life is to sing this body electric. How important and valuable it is to know that we are a part of the body of God, this entire universe, and that our place and our gifts and our service, all of it is in us as something that is to be given so that spirit can have that experience. And so in this moment, we open ourselves to be vessels, so that as the givingness of God is activated by the words of this prayer, we become the vessel that receives that good. We just can feel that blessing washing us in this very moment. We can feel that movement of life within us, and we can be certain that there is a healing going on, that there is a rejuvenation happening within our physical bodies, that there is a reordering of our lives, and that what we say in jest is a superpower, we understand is really that God-given gift. The way in which we move through the circumstances of our own lives, and we receive the gifts. We rise to a higher consciousness and to a higher point of view, so that when we look again upon this world in physical form, we begin to see not what is broken, but what is holy, and how amazing it is that each thing indeed is intended to be in order with the next thing. So we drop these words of prayer in that great big pool of humanity, knowing there is a beautiful ripple that just moves its way energetically to all the surfaces and the edges and around this globe, and we heal in our lives, we heal in our bodies, we heal in this planet, and we feel again the song of life within us. So I say thank you, God. Thank you, life. Thank you, infinite spirit, for the way in which we have remembered yet again this beautiful, magnificent way that life works. And so I release this prayer into the law, knowing it is already done. And together we say, and so it is. Amen.
Grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful, grateful. reflected, shining back to me. I just give thanks for all these simple things, the joy and peace that gratitude brings. That's why I'm grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I am so grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have.
All right, so we are grateful for the Bradford, so thank you. Just a quick few announcements. Just reminding everybody that we do not pass around the offering plates. We have tithe box in the back of the room back here. We also have it in the bookstore. If you're online, there's a pledge button on the website if you'd like to pledge online. We also have our stewardship program where you can do direct deposits, so that way you can even tithe when you're not here. That makes us really happy, but we want you here, of course. Anyway, so there's lots of ways to give, and we appreciate every way that you give. Also, want to remind everybody that we have call to prayer after service. So if you would like to pray with a practitioner, you can come up here. We have a couple of practitioners up here that's available for prayer after service. And then one last thing, we have goodies and snacks and a lot of love in the other room. So please join us for fellowship after service. So now is the time to focus on the abundance of our lives and the abundance of our community. So let's say our giving affirmation together. I live in a consciousness of good. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, and so it is.
Please rise for our last song. Let me really hear ya. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. I ain't thinking about my problems. I'm living now. I'm living now. And I ain't gonna worry about the future. I'm living now. I'm living now. So put your hands up if you feel like having a good time. Put your hands up if you're sharing love with all. Raise your cup if you're hopeful for tomorrow. Put your hands up if you're ready to have some fun. Now sing it. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. One more time. Oh, 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 it feels so good to be alive. Woo!
So I just have one quick announcement. Nancy Noel has spearheaded the reemergence of the Projects of Love team. That's our community outreach. And so we will be doing in June, all the details will be in this week's newsletter, and we will be packing food bags in the sanctuary on the 26th of June. That'll be Sunday after service, right? And there's a list of what kinds of things we put in those bags, and we need you to bring bags as well. So you know those durable grocery bags you get like at Trader Joe's or any market. They can be cloth or whatever. But if you have any extras of those in your trunk, like I usually do, bring them in. And then we also are looking for non-perishable food. And these are bags that we literally give out at the door when people come to the door and they're hungry. And it's one of my greatest joys. And we do it every year. And it's time we haven't actually done it in a couple years. And so I'm really happy this is our first kickoff project. So look for more information on that. In fact, Nancy's going to be, pretty soon, Nancy will be up here telling you about it on her own, a different Sunday. Okay, so Clyde, I think Reverend Clyde has a closing for us.
I have to sit back there and pay attention so I can come up with the closing affirmations every Sunday. A little pressure, but we have one. We have one. All right, repeat after me. Life is forever supporting me. I learn, I love, and I grow. And so it is.